Yo, what's going on, good people? My name is Kemet High, and I'm sitting here with mega producer and Wu-Tang General RZA. In the words of J. Cole, I think your legacy is way too deep for the intro. So I want to go ahead and get right into it. Peace. How you doing?
Oh, goody good. What up, Kemet? Bong bong.
Bang. So yeah, let's jump into Wu-Tang season two. One of the best shows available right now. What was the goal for this season in comparison to the last?
Uh, well, last season was introducing the characters, introducing the family, the crew, and actually going back to pre-Wu-Tang and showing some evolutionary stages there. This season, we actually get into Wu-Tang being formed officially, and we get to watch the creation and recording of 36 Chambers,
Yeah.
first album.
Exactly. The pandemic, it paused a lot of things or put a lot of things into slow motion. There were obviously challenges, I'm sure, with this, but what would you say was the best part of putting this season together? Like, what did the circumstances bring light to?
Well, perseverance is important, right? No,
Oh,
shooting in quarantine was definitely an equation that we didn't plan, right? Who could plan that?
right.
And what I did learn though is the tenacity of a good crew. Had a great crew here in New York, New Jersey area. Um, the cast was so cooperative and so understanding. Uh, and what it did for us as producers is just show that if we keep our hand on the steering wheel, we're going to get to our destination. Just don't let go of that wheel. And we didn't let go of it.
True words. I hear you. What would you say was your favorite episode to shoot and why?
Well, I mean, for this season, I'm gonna start with episode one.
Okay.
What makes it my favorite episode is that, I'm a big fan of Mario Van Peebles. I never forget New Jack City and going to the theaters as a young man to see it. I actually, funny story, I actually tried to be an extra in New Jack City, you know what I mean? So seriously, got there too late, missed the whole scene. But
That's funny.
this to have Mario Van Peebles come in and direct the first episode of season two was, magical for me, special. And I think what he captured, from what me and my partner Alex C wrote, he captured it the way no other director could in all reality. It was like almost made for him to direct it. And so that was my favorite episode to watch being shot, because we kind of shot that one like a little mini movie.
Yeah, I can see that. I was gonna say that as well. I feel like a lot of these episodes, they kind of seem like mini movies in their own right. And what was interesting to me about this season was just the closer look at the identity of each member as a part of the Wu. We see yourself go from Bobby to RZA. We see Asan go to ODB and so on and so forth. So why was it important for you to take that approach in terms of what you chose to put forth in this season versus the last? Like, why was it important to learn the characters first as people and then artists?
Yeah, well, that was actually creatively, that was a challenge, right? And that was something that wasn't easy for the rest of the crew to get on board with.
Yeah.
Just to point out something, since we're just talking candidly here,
Yeah.
none of us ever called RZA Gary, okay? My mother called him that. You know what I mean?
I got you.
But no Wu member called him Gary. And so to meet him as Gary and then to watch him evolve to a Law Justice and then to evolve to the RZA, he was a little bit against that, but I said, listen, you gotta start backwards so people can understand. You just can't jump out the window and you can start flying, right? So it was important for me as a storyteller, making films and movies and understanding how that works. It was important that we stuck to a structure like that. And this way, first of all, you could realize that, we didn't we didn't wake up like this. flawless, right? No, we have to build to get to this. And hopefully us building to get to this and the audience watching it, I actually hope another young person is watching it and he's going to find his own evolution.
Yeah. Powerful right there. Okay. And speaking of that, speaking of young people, I want to get a little bit into the casting. So we can start with yourself. Ashton Sanders plays you as RZA. What was the moment in which you realized that he was a good fit for your character, especially seeing how he's from the West Coast? He's from California. Yeah. So
I actually met him in the West Coast in the office, but no, once again, he had the eyes. You know, he had the eyes that fit what the character had to go through. And as you know, as we get into season 2, you see those eyes change a little bit. You see him, still very deep, but you start seeing more of the leadership quality come out of him. If you look at the episode, season 1, it was a scene where Shamik Moore, who plays Raekwon, was like, "Grow some balls, Bobby." You know what I mean? And he just took it. Every time something was going wrong, he just took it on the chin. But in season 2, after episode 4, he's like, "Yo, shut the up." Like, yo, enough of this. Let me now, then his energy has to come out. And as the season progresses, you'll see that he's evolving into a leader.
Yeah.
Dave East, who plays a great Method Man, we was lucky to get him. And Meth is a very unique, he's an executive producer, but also very unique in his taste. And, it was hard to find someone to play Method Man. And, we dug through it, and Chris Robinson, who directed the pilot and set the tone for the whole series, he was like, "Yo, I had Dave in this other project, and he's really good. Take a look at him." And we did, and he rocked it. TJ Adams from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Once again, a blessing, really, to find this kid. And when you make a show, I'll just share this with you. If you make a show, as a creator, you write the show. Then you got to find the right director that's going to also help tell you that tone, set the tone. Because once the tone is set, you can build from it. And we took a long time to find that director, and it became Chris Robinson. And one of the reasons why it was Chris, because Chris had worked with Wu-Tang, Ghostface, Raekwon. He did videos for us in our young days. He knew a lot about hip hop, and he also he's a good filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so having a guy like that come and help set the tone was really important. And then once the tone is set, right, we are able to move forward. So TJ Adams, once again, Chris brought TJ to the table. And then when you look at the character, Elijah Julian Martinez, who was brought in from Broadway, and Marcus Chandler, both of these guys are Broadway actors that we saw their readings, we thought about it, we argued with each other over it, and we had a great casting director named Kim Coleman, who does a lot of great movies. She's just a master of this, you know what I mean? And she put the right people in front of us, and we went through dozens of kids, dozens of people, and we ended up getting a great cast. And we was very meticulous about it, bro. I gotta honestly say, it was almost, as me and the cast talk together now, it's almost a little bit embarrassing, like saying how many times we had to make people come back and come back and try again. But anyway,
I think that makes a lot of sense. And at least the talk on social media, or even in the street when I'm talking to my peers and stuff, that's one thing people say about this show, is that it seems like the characters were casted like perfectly. Everyone buys into the people that they're presenting on the camera, and that works.
Yeah. And right now we lost Joey Badass as Inspector Deck, but we got Uyota Udi from Nigeria, who's also was making his come up during the pandemic, doing a lot of doing some acting, but also doing some crazy things. And it was like, yo, how are we going to replace Joey Badass and bring a new rebel Inspector Deck to the building? And I just want to say this quick story. And we got down to like the last 5 people, right? And Uyota was there. So I'm like, man, I like this kid Uyota. I like this kid here. I like him. But I really can't choose because Inspector Deck is never gonna let me live it down if I choose the wrong guy. Because he just has that personality. He'll hold it for you on it for 20 years. So I was like, you know what? Let's send these people to him and see who he chooses. And he chose the same kid because it was the right kid. It was the best kid and the right kid. And he's doing a phenomenal job. I don't know if you've seen episode 6 yet.
Yes. Oh, I have some questions. Don't worry.
He passed you the mic because he ripped it. He ripped episode 6.
Yes, most definitely. We'll get back to that in a second. But what I did want to ask you was more on Ashton Sanders. His cadence in the show is very significant, and there's an evolution of that in season 2 in comparison to season 1. It just stands out even more. So how did you coach him to nail your voice and your tone and your sauce down?
Well, I actually didn't coach him to do that. In season 1, Ashton came to the studio with me. He hung with me. And he's one of those dudes, I want to talk about the acting process, but, like if I did some shit, he'd do it like over there. I'm like, yo, what this dude doing? So he was picking up shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like, this kid is deep and shit, and it really paid off in season 1. In season 2, I was probably more in the executive mode, the COVID of it all. So I probably wasn't as loose as I normally would be because it just wasn't, we got a mask up and face mask. It just wasn't that type of smiley face environment.
Makes sense.
I mean, that we are, but his talk, the cadence that he chose, I actually was like, man, that's how he hears me because I remember somebody told me, said, yeah, Riz, you're very monotone. You're very monotone in your flow and your rhyme style. Your cadence is unpredictable, but you still have a monotone thing about you. And I guess him watching old videos and watching all that, he just absorbed that and he decided he made an actor's choice.
Straight
but I didn't coach him into that.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear though. I mean, for whatever it is, it definitely works. Like, I think a lot of people were applauding his performance and just, I think it sheds light into what you were saying earlier about you being a coach and the way you speak. It's almost like when he speaks in the show, people raise up on the edge of their couch, like a player's listening to their coach in the huddle. It kind of has that effect. So it worked.
Good. I love the speech he did in episode 4. And now, not to give those spoilers, but so he does something later on in the season that really explains everything that he's doing as the actor. And I just remember coming up to him and just congratulating him. And you're young, so I'm still an OG. Everybody call me the OG around here, triple OG. Yeah. But I really gave him a big pat on the back for his performance in episode 10. He really showed his level of talent. When you see it, you'll feel what I mean. He really, he did some Denzel shit in that one.
Oh, okay, all right. We'll go ahead and leave that right there. Okay. On another note salute to him for the job that he's doing. And another person that you already brought up, TJ Adams, he plays ODB, rest in peace. What do you think was the most important to capture of his essence?
The freedom of expression. And TJ is doing that, man. When we had him, he had to wear his boxers and ride that bike, right?
In a Cuban.
And it's wintertime, It was getting out of the winter, but it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't a very nice day, you know what I mean? And he did it. He's dedicating himself to this role, and he's going hard body, man. And he just continues to watch a lot of ODB tapes, and he calls up the family. But he's definitely, I just told him, don't go all the way in when you can't get out. You know what I mean? Because, it's a deep life. ODB's life is a very deep life.
Yeah, for sure. I could imagine. Much respect to that. Rest in power. Were there any parts of the making of like Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers and season 2 that didn't make the script?
Of course, but there's parts also that was unknown, right? You look at Bobby, if you call him Method Man, and the electricity goes out, and they got to go down and get the studio started, they got to plug up to somebody else's electricity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened. You know what I mean? And people didn't know that. So there's things that you don't know that we show the process of. Like for instance, Ghostface not doing his verse until the second day.
Yes, that was real.
Yeah, I didn't, I didn't tell a lot of people that. That's just, that's how we are. Me and him, we live together, so we could go home and talk about it. And that's what happened. We went home, and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna write a new verse, cause that, because I gotta, he had to step it up and get that sword sharp." And he came back for crying out loud, "My style is wild, so book me."
I'm saying,
You know what I mean?
For sure. One thing that was also interesting to me about watching this season, there was a scene that showed you all pulling up to Stretch and Bobbito's radio show and essentially like bullying them into playing the record. So I wanted to ask, like, what's the craziest extent you went to get a record like put into the spotlight?
Man, in those days, we was willing to kick in the door,
By any means.
Yeah. So, but it was all types of tactics, depending on what location. If you're down hanging out college campus and it's a bunch of girls, you're gonna work your pimp hand, right? If it's a bunch of guys, you're gonna work your thug hand.
Smart.
If it's a bunch of nerds, you're gonna work your nerd hand. We try to show that in the new episode 7, when you see you see Meth, U-God, and Inspector Dex and ODB character go to the college.
Yeah.
And we're trying to show like, that was us going to places like Morgan State, Long Island, Adelphi, Howard University, Virginia State, UV. We went down to all those different colleges, just driving our own cars and bringing the records there. And so and of course you can show that in the show, PRB and Philly, which we gave PRB a point because when Bobby sees the guy at the convention, he goes, "Yeah, I played the record," but PRB wasn't a big station, but PRB probably played it before anybody.
Wow.
And that was a station in New Jersey, Princeton, I think. But point being made, we just wanted to show that the process of getting your music heard was difficult then. You can't just upload it to no SoundCloud and it's there. It's like we had to physically go and drive places, and we would sometimes have to force our way in. And sometimes we didn't get in at all. It's like, oh, too bad, go home or go to a hotel or go to the strip club or something, but you're not getting in, your record's not getting played.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Y'all weren't hearing any no's though. That doesn't stop the grind, regardless of the yes or the no, as we see now, and it ended up working out.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, all right, so this is a bit of a segue, but I think you were on Yo MTV Raps, and I was watching an interview of yours, and you were talking about the Wu-Tang movement and the passion that you had behind it, and you said that we're at war, and war backwards is raw, uncut. Those are really powerful words to me, and I wanted to ask, like, who do you think in hip hop is bringing that energy right now?
Well, I think it's an assimilation now. I think that our generation had to bring it that way in order for this generation to reap the rewards of it being such a global phenomenon. Like you said, in order for them to be able to say, yo, I could just make it in my house and upload it, somebody had to make it even interesting, make it even something that you want. And so they don't have to go through the same, I wouldn't put them in the same chamber because they don't have to go through the same struggle. It's a different struggle for them. But as far as dope MCs who continue to push the needle and push the talent, of course, Kendrick continues to push it, right? But if you look at the two biggest albums right now, Drake and Kanye, within those two albums, you basically get half of the top guys in the industry. And you're hearing all the perspectives. You know, I was really proud to watch Baby and Little Baby, the Baby and Little Baby,
Peace.
get their time, get their shine, and get their voices out. You know, Playboy Cardi, his music was in my house since my son was like maybe 5 years ago. He's just on YouTube and it's playing it. And now he's like in it. You know what I mean? I watched Young Thug, you know, from just being little mixtapes and all that when my 10-year-olds was playing that, you know what I mean? And I was saying, it's okay, I hear them growing and I would see them all evolving, getting even lyrical better, even Lil Yachty, you know, making movies now on rap. So everybody evolves, but their struggle was not our struggle, right? They're gonna have to represent their time and place so that it could still continue on to the next generation, you know what I mean? And that there's still inclusiveness, because the worst thing could happen is we'll see happen to blues and jazz. Here's the funniest story I just share with you.
Please.
So a few years ago, I went down to Memphis and they had the big blues, like World Championship blues playoff type thing. You know what I mean?
I got you.
And it was mostly like maybe 70% white brothers there. It's like, where the, you know what I mean? And it was right in Memphis, right at BB King's. It's just that, you know, the culture, there's nothing wrong with it being white brothers there. I'm just saying, we got to continue to push it and be creative so that there's always an inclusiveness of all the cultures. And if somebody let it go, somebody will pick it up, because what happens is, you know, oh, jazz ain't cool no more. Blues ain't cool no more. You know what I mean? Rock wasn't cool no more. No, you got to keep it going. So.
For sure. And you speaking on Kanye, it brought me to one of my favorite Kanye West songs with Jay-Z. Is called The Joy. Pete Rock on the production. And it's a sample of, I believe it's called The Makings of You by Curtis Mayfield. And I remember you saying that that's like one of your favorite albums of all time. So why does that project stick out to you?
That's a great album, brother. I know if you ever buy that album, Curtis, and listen to it from top to bottom, it's such a masterpiece of creativity. Curtis Mayfield is a master of creativity. You know, he's one of the people that, as a musician, you got to study, black or white. Here's a guy that created a sound out of Chicago. Here's a guy that went on to make songs in the most unique time signatures, orchestration, and then at the same time score movies with songs that live on past the visuals of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Curtis Mayfield, Isaac Hayes, Quincy Jones, you know what I mean? Even you want to talk about Roy Ayers, Willie Hutch, these brothers was ahead of it, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But yeah, that album, Curtis, I just never forget, like, 'cause I always had like a song here or a song there, but one day I just got the entire album, like on cassette, and I just played it to his style, yo, but it was just, I said, this is dope. And I never really sampled it. It's hundreds of samples on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The funniest thing that I did with Curtis Mayfield, I just share it to you as a brother here, but it was the first album that I could listen to the music and still write my lyrics. Because it's not easy. It took a long time. Like Ghost did it on a song by the Delphonics. He did a song called Wise, where the song played and he recorded a song, and that was his song. And that was probably even, you know, after my experience with Curtis. But it's so difficult for our generation. I don't know about this generation, but it was so difficult to have a song playing and you write your rhyme and rap while that guy is singing in all his cadences. Curtis Mayfield was the first album for me that I was listening to it and I was able to do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, like I could actually write I wrote a lot of Bobby Digital lyrics just listening to that. And my whole cadence, we interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin. Bob Digital located inside the hood again. Last seen helping the crack fiend the detox. I just wrote that to move on up. I just like, my pen just started flowing, yo.
Wow. Insightful gems in this conversation. RZA, I know we're running out of time. I had one more question, like one or two more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
For sure. So one, what do you think about the term GOAT? We're speaking about these legends and how music, like fashion, it comes back around, rebranding and whatnot. But what do you think about the term GOAT as someone that a lot of people will refer to as a GOAT, but in today's time, you know, there's an album that comes out every Friday where someone has some type of reference to it. So what do you think about that word?
I mean, self-praise don't mean nothing, right? So you can't call yourself it, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if you know, somebody want to say somebody's the greatest of all time, you know, they gotta just be patient because time is not ended yet.
Mm.
You know what I mean? The greatest may not have been born. You know what I mean? So, but if it's the greatest to date, then that's your choice, you know. And every MC, in my opinion, every MC feels he's the greatest, and you better feel that way.
Yeah,
You don't get in the ring to lose the fight. You get in the ring thinking you're going to win the belt.
that part.
Yeah, so.
Okay, for sure. And my last question to you, on a music tip, what can people expect from you? What's coming next? We know that Ghostface Killah is coming out with Supreme Clientele too. Will you be on that or any solo works?
Well, me and DJ Scratch, yo, we got the album that we talked about at that on that Versus is done now. So he's doing the final touches on it. I think it's a lyrical onslaught. I think lyrically, I'm providing a missing substance. You know what I mean? The same way as you watch the TV series, hopefully you're watching it and you were like, yo, that was raw, that was real, but damn, I got something out of that too. You know what I mean? So you know me, I'm good for putting medicine inside the soup.
Always. Straight like that.
Yeah.
RZA, that was all I had. Anything else you want to leave for the piece?
Nah, so I want to say peace and blessings, yo. Keep rocking. And people out there, thanks for watching Wu-Tang and American Saga Season 2. We appreciate you.
Always, man. Big love, big respect. Thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure. Peace.